That is so fetch. You go, Glen Coco! What is up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. This is OCD Movie Reviews. My name is On the Brinkat, and today I'm going to review the latest musical that came out, and that movie is Mean Girls. This is a remake of the classic 2004's Mean Girls movie that's also based on a book, and this is also an adaptation of the Broadway musical that's based on the film with the same name. And this movie stars Reneé, Rapp, Angourie, Auliʻi, Cravalho, Jaquel, Spivey, Tina Fey, and Tim Meadows. New girl Katie is a hit with the Plastics, the popular group girls at her new school. But everything changes when she makes a mistake of falling for Aaron Samuels, the ex-boyfriend of Alpha Plastic, Regina George. Now, this review is coming from a guy that loves the 2004's Mean Girls. That movie is one of the most iconic high school movies of all freaking time. So because of that, I'm going to be honest, I was not pumped for this movie. From the trailers, this movie, honestly, I was just like, do we really need a remake of Mean Girls? I know this movie's also an adaptation of the Broadway musical that's also written by Tina Fey. So yeah, it's an adaptation really, but it's also a remake of the first movie because the Broadway musical is actually based on the original movie. So I consider this as a remake. Yes, this is basically Mean Girls as a musical. I would blame the marketing for not advertising this as much as a musical because, yeah, if you're not expecting this to be a musical, I don't blame you because I forgot this is a musical. I forgot this is based on the Broadway musical with the same name. So I went to this movie expecting to hate it. And I gotta say, I surprisingly don't hate this movie. Is this movie as great as the first Mean Girls movie? Absolutely not. But literally, I'm already going into this movie not expecting it to be as good as the original Mean Girls. Is this movie great though? Not really. But is it a solid film? Yes, it is. It's a solid good time. And I would say this movie has some positives that I was actually really impressed with the film. So let's talk about those first. I would say one of my biggest positives of this film, surprisingly, are the musical sequences. Now this is coming from the guy that has not seen the Broadway musical, so I'm not going to compare this movie to the Broadway musical. So I would say the songs are new for me, and I gotta say the songs in this movie are actually great. They're choreographed very well, the lyrics are really well done. There are some really good songs in this film, and the musical sequences of this film are actually really creative and deep, and I thought the choreography and the direction with the musical sequences are actually really good in this film, and it's definitely a highlight for this film. And I will also say most of the cast of this movie does a great job in this film. There are some people that stand out for me. One of them is Reneé Rapp as Regina George. I like that she brings her own spin to the Regina George character, not trying to be exactly like Rachel McAdams' character from the original movie. She plays her own version of Regina George, and she does a really good job in this film. She is menacing, she is bitchy in the film, and Reneé Rapp, she does a great job in this film. And I would say, in a way, there's one scene where I'm just like, she is one of the best horror characters of this year. You know what bit I'm talking about. The audiences was freaking out at that moment. That's how good Reneé Rapp is as Regina George. She does a really good job in the film. But I gotta say, the main standout of this film, honestly, is Auliʻi Cravalho and Jaquel Spivey as Janice and Damien. Those two made this movie for me. Those two stole the entire movie for me. They're such fun characters in this film. When you first see these characters, you're like, yep, these are the characters that stole this entire movie. Auliʻi Cravalho, once again, is so talented and she's fantastic in this film. And I gotta say, Janice and Damien have a really good chemistry with one another. Like, you just want them to basically be the main characters of this film. Angourie as Katie, though, is pretty good in the film. She's not my favorite character in this film, though, but she definitely plays her own version of Katie, and she basically, you know, she plays what she is given, but she's definitely my least favorite character in this film. But Angourie does a pretty good performance overall, and it's also really good to see Tina Fey and Tim Meadows reprising their roles from the original movie. I thought that's really, really cool, and they're really good in this film. I would say also something that really impressed me with Mean Girls is the production design and just the overall look of this movie. The production design is fantastic in the film. For the most part, there are some parts that does look like a TV movie, which is coincidentally, this movie was meant to be a streaming movie, but it came to theaters, and I gotta say, it does look good in theaters, I'm not gonna lie. There's even some creative aspect ratios in this film that I was not expecting. Like, there are times where the film goes widescreen, then it goes to full screen, then it goes to TikTok, basically, aspect ratio, and I thought the aspect ratios are also really clever in this film. But this film is not perfect. It's definitely not as great as the original Mean Girls, because I would say one of my biggest issues with Mean Girls is that this film has no surprises. It's basically the exact same story. You know exactly how this movie's gonna go. It's basically the original Mean Girls with some of the same dialogue as the original, but just with musical sequences. Which I know some people are gonna say that's basically what happened in the Broadway musical. So, you're watching this going, yes, this does feel like you're watching Mean Girls again, but just with really good production design and really good musical sequences. And that's basically a slight nitpick for me, because there are some moments where they say the exact same lines from the original Mean Girls, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be honest, the way they say it in the original film, they said those lines much better than this film presented. But it's more of a slight nitpick because, come on, you know exactly what this movie's going to be, you know the story. You just want to see a really fun movie with some pretty good musical sequences and want this movie to be like its own thing. And I gotta say, for a movie like this, it does feel like its own thing. It really does. It does feel like an adaptation, their own version of this story. And I thought for the most part, this movie presents it very, very well. It is not as good as the original film, but it's not meant to. It's just trying to be a new vision of Mean Girls for the new generation. And overall, throughout the most part, I enjoyed this remake of Mean Girls, and I was really surprised that this movie was better than I thought it was going to be. It's not that great. You know, it is basically the exact same film as the original film. There's no surprises. But what saved the film is the musical sequences. The acting in this film, for the most part, is solid. The overall look of this film, the production design, looks fantastic. And I gotta say, Reneé, Rapp as Regina George, Auliʻi Cravalho, and Jaquel Spivey as those characters, they stole the entire movie for me. So guys, overall, I would say, check out this movie. I'm not gonna lie, I was really surprised by this one. I am going to give Mean Girls a B-. So guys, that is my review for Mean Girls. Let me know what you think of this movie in the comments below. Do you like the movie, hate the movie, or you thought it's okay? And what is your favourite moment from the original Mean Girls? Let me know that also in the comments below. Make sure you guys follow me on social media links down below. Keep contact with me, and make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Notify for my latest movie reviews and other movie related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and have a nice day.